Well, here we are on boy, it was a beautiful day today. Joe Choppy, Joe Rayo on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Nice to see everybody here. I have to tell you, Mr. Rayo, you said this the last couple of days, and I really did notice the blue skies that we had. I mean, they were really blue.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
almost as blue, not quite as blue as this, different shade of blue. But I was really taken by just how beautiful it looked outside with the less pollution.
Yes, it was a beautiful day to mow the lawn, and that's what I spent the better part of the
Is
afternoon
that
doing.
what you did? Is
That's
that
what
what you're up to?
I do it with first the tractor mower, and then I use a regular hand mower to get the edges that the tractor mower can't get into. So it was a fun afternoon. I'm happy I'm here right now.
Well, how much grass do you get have to cut?
I live on 6 acres, five of which are just
Trees.
woodland,
Hmm.
trees, wood. But I think the other acre or so is grass. So that has to be. I could do it theoretically. I could do it with the hand mower. It would take an awfully long time, but I could do it that way. But that's why I have the. One of these days, I told my wife I'm going to pull an Eddie Albert or Green Acres. I'm going to do the lawn on the tractor mower in a three-piece suit.
Oh, that'd
Keep
be that
Manhattan
that
just
that'd be funny.
keep Manhattan. Just give me
Through
that
that
countryside.
countryside. Da, 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 da. No, New York is where I'd rather stay. I get
Hey, it's
allergic
allergic
smelling
smelling.
hay.
Well, anyway, spelling. It was really a lovely afternoon though. Temperatures in the mid 60s, low humidity. Again, as you mentioned, blue sky, some wispy high clouds, but turned out to be a very, very nice day. And now here we are, almost upon us, the first of the big three summer holidays, even though it's not officially summer yet, Memorial Day.
Right.
And looks like, from at least from my vantage point, of the 3 days, we'll get two out of the three weekend
I
days.
know Sal Blandino is off the deep end in the pre-show chat about Saturday.
Sorry, Sal.
We gotta help him somehow, or perhaps not. But yeah, I agree. Saturday to me is going to be problematic. Again, I think if you're south and west for if you draw a line across say central New Jersey somewhere, let's say 195, you probably stand a better chance of seeing a better day south and west of there than you do north and east of there. I mean, I don't know where exactly that line is going to be. Maybe it'll be closer to Philadelphia. Maybe it'll be a little further north. But it is pretty safe to say that up your way, out my way, up the Hudson Valley, out on Long Island, southern New England, back to New York City, northern New Jersey. More than likely, you're going to have a little bit of a tough time on Saturday before weather conditions start to improve for Sunday and Monday. And I think Monday's probably going to be the best of the three.
Yeah, I
Should
think
be
I think
best of the three.
I think so. As Memorial Days go, in the last 10 years, we mentioned over the last decade, we have had some really unusual variations from very warm, mid 80-degree readings on Memorial Day, very chilly at Central Park one year. I don't have the list in front of me. Only 61 for a high. We've had as much as an inch and a half of rain on Memorial Day. I think that was in 2016. So this turns out this upcoming Memorial Day looks a-okay. So nice that even Sal Blandino.
By the way, I noticed when I went to the paper bag store the other day that the summer fruits are coming in, and the cherries are already here. I got some great cherries. I picked them up at Costco. They were I bought 4 pounds. I already ate 2 pounds. I got more to go for after the show. But I just wanted to show you we're coming to the end of the Cara Cara orange season.
Oh,
So
speaking of, we found our last two Cara Cara oranges at the bottom of the refrigerator last
oh,
night. And so we
I'm
indulged in
guessing they weren't exactly orange anymore.
no, they were
They
they were quite good.
they
And
good. Oh, okay, that's good. They
and we
kept then.
we indulged in our last bit of Carico? Because as you just about to mention, the season is what, over or about to be
Yeah,
over?
usually, they're pretty much done by during the month of May. You'll they'll disappear now. You probably won't see them anymore until next January. But in the meantime, this one, the last of the bunch that's out there right now. I mean, it's not. This is bigger than a standard baseball. It's not quite the size of a softball, but it's somewhere in between. And they're so darn juicy. So if you've never had a Cara Cara orange, folks, have a Cara Cara orange because they
Right.
are terrific.
Sadly, you must
This
wait.
show is brought to you by the Cara Cara Orange Association of the San Joaquin Valley.
Oh dear. Well, maybe you ought to put up a bid for that Caracara that you have in your hand.
Well,
Anybody really wants one?
I'm gonna peel it soon. I got my my wine for tonight. So since it was so beautiful, let's start off with the U.S. satellite loop because, Mr. Rayo, that wedge that exists. If you look at this loop, that upper low is so dominant. You still have the circulation of what it was Tropical Storm Arthur drifting southward now toward Bermuda, and there's like this wall at the top of that where you have this big high in Canada that runs from New England back to the Great Lakes. It's just like a giant weight of dry air, and fortunately, you and I and northeast up through all of New England and upstate New York in an absolute sweet spot today. You start to get into some clouds when you move down through New Jersey, and I know someone mentioned to me, down along the New Jersey shore today, in South Jersey, it wasn't exactly the best of days. It was in the low 50s. There was still a pretty decent wind coming in off the water, and there were a lot of clouds around. So the wall was just to my south.
And eventually, some of those clouds are going to spill in over us. Not tomorrow, but probably early in the day. I think on Friday we'll begin to see the clouds coming in, and before the end of the day, maybe right around nightfall, or give or take an hour or two of 8 o'clock on Friday evening, I think we'll begin to see some raindrops, and that should lead us into maybe a wet start to the holiday weekend on Saturday. But that should be the only clinker out of the three: Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Agreed. And there's your dry air. And in the meantime, while that wall exists, of course, this is a you got this blocking high that's basically over the area that I just drew the dry area in, and that's going to be sitting there for another day or so. In the meantime, this upper low has been sitting stationary over near Nashville, Tennessee, for the last almost 2 days, and as a result, the circulation around it is bringing moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, shooting it northward, and then turning it westward, south of the lower lakes. So you're getting and have been getting considerable amounts of rain uh, in the Carol in the central Appalachians and also down in the southeast. But none of this rain has been able to really make any kind of eastward progress at all because of the upper lows is basically circulating it counterclockwise around it.
And we have that huge high pressure. So in fact, tonight, Joe, I think a classic radiational cooling night. Um, temperatures in places like the Pine Barrens of eastern Long Island or central New Jersey are going to free fall, I think, later tonight with clear skies, a lack of any significant wind. Temperatures, in fact, many spots may be in the 30s by daybreak, and there may be a few spots in, those sheltered interior, rural valley sections that might even come within a few degrees of freezing
Yeah,
come
they
tomorrow
didn't put
morning.
any. They don't have any frost advisories there, but they actually do have some frost advisories up for a handful of counties in north central PA and in a couple of counties in southwest New York for the reason you just described. In the meantime, you've got flash flood warnings covering. Flash flood watches covering most of North Carolina, southwestern Virginia, a chunk of South Carolina, and also parts of southeastern Ohio and eastern Kentucky. Meanwhile, we have severe weather and severe thunderstorm watches up in West Texas, and also up in the northwestern plains, the western Dakotas, western Nebraska, eastern Wyoming, about half of Montana, and a couple of counties in northeastern Colorado. So severe weather's kind of tucked in a relatively narrow area, and we'll take a look at what SPC has in just a second. But the rest of the country, Joe, really kind of enjoying some decent weather, except for the west, where we still have this upper low that's moved in, and while it's not producing any kind of weather that warrants serious warnings of any kind or watches. We do have weather going on out there as far as some rain is concerned.
And what is that? I'm looking at Alaska. I know we have one of our viewers who is from northern Alaska on the North
Alfred
Slope,
Phillips from Wainwright, Alaska.
and there's like a slab of blue up there.
Oh, let's see. That could be freezing spray because they got to
I'm
be
not sure.
the ice melt's underway now. Let me see if
Yeah,
I can bring it up. Processing. Oh, I predicted it. Yes, indeed, Joe. That is
freezing
a
spray.
heavy freezing spray warning.
Wow.
Uh,
Well,
yep, a
up
heavy
there it makes
freezing
sense.
spray warning is in effect.
It makes sense, doesn't it? If you live on the North Slope of Alaska, latitude what, 72 degrees north?
Yes, they have a heavy freezing spray warning in effect through Thursday afternoon and a small craft advisory in effect as well through Thursday afternoon. Easterly winds 25 knots, 5-foot seas, heavy freezing spray.
Oh,
And then it transitions over to plain old freezing spray on Friday as winds drop to east at 15 knots.
lovely, lovely. I've been to Alaska a couple of times, but not as far north as the North Slope. So
Yeah,
I
that's.
don't. And let me just say, nothing against
How would
Alfred,
you can
but
you
I have no intention of going to the North Slope
can,
anytime soon.
can you drive there?
What?
Can you drive to the North Slope?
I don't know.
I'm just kind of curious because you do have a lot of mountains to get through in between. There must
It's
be
beautiful.
some. There must be some road that goes up there.
No, it as the late Bob Ross, the Happy Trees painter, would always say, God had a very good day when he made Alaska. Alaska is a beautiful state, a large state, and if you ever get a chance to go up there, take a good look because it's beautiful. But again, I don't think I'd want to go all the way up as far. Maybe in the summertime, maybe in July or
Well,
August.
you know what the big problem though, if you do go up there, mosquitoes,
Oh yeah,
because they have that is a huge that is the world's biggest breeding ground for birds.
right,
And when they make their babies, they got to feed them something. So nature provides lots of bugs.
right.
I'm not a bug fan.
Well, if you then in other words, if you're gonna be heading up to the North Slope anytime soon, any time of the year, make sure you bring a couple of large cans of off. The kind you get at
Yeah.
BJ's, maybe.
Right. No, the super duper off. All right.
Yeah,
There's your severe weather risk from SPC running up from West Texas all the way up through Montana. And we also have a marginal risk in a small portion of southwestern North Carolina up to about Wilmington. But coastal South Carolina and down into Georgia in a marginal risk of severe weather encompassed inside a general area of thunderstorms. And over the next couple of days, as far as severe weather risk is concerned, for tomorrow, a small area of slight risk in the Oklahoma Panhandle and in southwestern Kansas, marginal risk down into West Texas, small area of marginal risk in eastern east. I can never know what that part of South Carolina. How would you describe it? I guess it's that northeastern South Carolina and southwestern North Carolina, or southeastern North Carolina. And then you've
um,
got the marginal risk in central and south Florida away from the coast. And that's it for tomorrow. And then going into Friday, we have a small area of marginal risk in Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas, southeast Kansas, and a small portion of North Texas. So that carries us up through that. And as far as the day 4 through 8 time frame, we got a 15% in the plains on day 4, which is for Saturday, And the rest of the way, predictability too low on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Uh, day 6 and 7, potential too low. Day 8, predictability too low. So there you go.
There you go.
So let
I
me
think
go.
we might see a rumble or two of thunder around here on Saturday. You think?
Not impossible. Not impossible with the with that little upper, what's left of the upper low going by. And here's the radar, by the way, just the latest radar. You got rain continues in much of North Carolina this evening. Let me get the close up. And back into southwestern Virginia. Everything's just going northwestward. You really don't see this too often. You certainly, if you're going to see it, you see it in the spring and sometimes in the summertime if you've got some kind of upper low hanging around. But the circulation, you look back over Tennessee, folks, those echoes there are turning counterclockwise. That's kind of where we were at this time yesterday. The upper low has just not moved. So as a result, of course, the radar's nice and quiet in the northeast. Got some big cells moving across the Florida Panhandle. The rest of Florida is fairly quiet. And then you've got the upper low in the west that's turning, and you see it here, the rotation in Idaho and the heavy thunderstorms that are in Wyoming, in eastern Wyoming, and into Montana. So that justifies the severe weather issues, the severe thunderstorm watch that we have up this evening. And of course, remember, folks, if you're watching this on a replay, you're going to see dated radars. So be sure you go to your local National Weather Service forecast office page to get the latest weather information. And where can we go to get that, Joe?
Weather.gov.
Weather.gov. You have to do it with that Kenny Williams voice from Hollywood Squares.
Well, how about Don Pardo?
Well, Don Pardo's Don Pardo.
Yeah,
Um,
weather.gov.
weather.gov from Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills. All right, so just take a look real quick here. Here's a surface map from 18Z. So let's see, 21Z is usually in by now, and there it is. There's our big high in the Gulf of Maine, another high north of Lake Ontario, and nothing but isobars. The interesting thing, Joe, if you were in North Carolina today, in parts of northwestern South Carolina, northern parts of northeast Georgia, did not get out of the 50s today, and
Wow.
some places didn't even make it much above 50 up in some of the mountains in western North Carolina. This is cool. I mean, this is really cool air. And somebody I know from who lives in Virginia was commenting about the fact that the spring has been delightful there because usually, you can get hot weather fairly early in some years, but it's been exactly the opposite. It's been a very nice, cool, refreshing spring, and he's enjoying every minute of it.
Yes. And let's see how long we will be able to stay cool as we get further and further into the late spring and summer season. But right now, I don't know. People wanted to really warm up. I wouldn't mind if it stayed this way all through the rest of the spring and summer, but
Oh,
of
that
course
works
we
for
know that's
me.
not going to happen.
Oh, of course not. Okay, so let's look at uh, WPC's uh, WPC's rainfall forecast. An additional 2 to 4 inches of rain across North Carolina on top of all the rain they've had the last couple of days. Big rains for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and western Missouri, western Arkansas on the order of about an inch and a half to as much as 3 inches, and a little bit of action up in the Dakotas, up into Montana and Idaho, and right along the Pacific Northwest coast. Dry in California, the Southwest, and a little bit of rain being indicated here in the Northeast, Joe. They've got this goes through next Wednesday, so it looks like at least in southern Pennsylvania is where you've got the half inch to southern and eastern Pennsylvania. They got a little that area there, that northern part of a half an inch of rain, and then it diminishes. They got us in a tenth to a quarter of an inch, and I'm guessing that's mostly for Friday night and Saturday. So at least for our general area close up, There's not going to be a whole lot of rain out of this system as it lifts up to the northeast. It's just going to be more of a nuisance than anything else.
Right, right. And then hopefully everything keeps on moving and allows for some drier air to enter the picture for the second half of the week. Actually, the second 2/3 of the weekend when you throw in Monday, because this is, as after all, a 3-day holiday weekend. Although of late, who knows how to tell from one day to the next what is a holiday and what is any other day, right?
Yeah, no, it just rolls along. Although I have to tell you, I was out. I did my usual run today to the paper bag store, and then I also had to stop at the post office. And there's a lot more cars out. There's definitely a lot more cars out now than there have been in quite a while.
Right.
So it seems like people are just like they're just at the point where it's like I can't stay in the house anymore.
Yeah. There's only so long that people say, I gotta get out.
Well, I
And
went down to the beach today. Up to the beach on the North Shore, and it
right,
was there were a few people around, but I was in an area where there was hardly anyone,
right.
and just to see something different. And I go out that if you've literally been sitting inside the house all day long, that's crazy. You got to at least get outside, get some fresh air for a little while. But I've been going on these long walks, and I have to tell you, it made a big difference to me anyway.
So where do we move from here?
Where do we move from here?
Where do we go from here?
We're gonna go to the GFS. We got
So
the
let's go.
GFS.
All right.
So anyhow, uh, the uh, the upper low it's kind of unusually the upper lows like this normally would just kind of move along because we've been getting all blocked off with the remnants of Arthur and all. So it just basically will just weaken, and then finally the remnant low will get kicked to the east Friday night into Saturday. You see it here; it's just kind of right over eastern Pennsylvania Saturday morning, and then it just basically falls apart and dies on top of us and dies. And then we start to get this ridge that builds into the eastern part of the United States for next week. So I think that warm up's going to happen, Joe. The ridge gets pretty strong by the middle part of the week and then starts to flatten out a bit as we head toward next weekend. But I think this says that we're going to have some, we're going to see temperatures at least get back up to seasonal levels and maybe go a little bit above normal as we move through the last days of the month of May.
And we certainly could use that after such a long stretch of, well, I mean, you don't even have to think back, back to the 9th of May when we were talking about cold and snow. And now here we are, about 15, and not 15, but 11 or 12 days later. And we're hoping and crossing our fingers for a really, a nice spell of sultry, warm, mid or late spring or even early summer type weather. It'd be nice to see that.
Yeah, as long as we're in a ridge position for much of next week, I really don't see, doesn't look like the kind of thing where it gets super hot, but it certainly should get warm and above average. And I think given the craziness of this month, in a lot of ways, this May has behaved more like has behaved more like the month of March behaves rather than how May behaves, considering all the extremes that we've seen with snow, with the widespread freezes, of course, relative to the month of May, and then going to temperatures up into the 80s, severe weather that ripped across upstate New York, all in the span of about 7 or 8 days. I mean, that was just insane.
Yes. Yes.
I've stunned you to silence. I can sense it. All right, so let's just
It's
run through
nice.
the GFS
It's
real quick because there
it's
really
it's
isn't a
nice to
whole.
see. It's nice to see. And again, you remember that I'm running about a minute behind you by watching the YouTube here, but it's nice to see so much orange or even deep orange, indicating a building ridge, and also strongly suggestive of some moderation in temperature as we get into again the middle and latter part of next week.
By the way, it's the end of May. we're going to be starting hurricane season officially on June 1st, of course, as we've already gotten rid of the A storm. But one of the interesting things that happens in June sometimes is if when you get situations like that, the way the ridge is set up for next week, it creates lower than normal pressures usually across the Gulf of Mexico and down in the Caribbean. So if we get something like that at some point as we get into June, we who knows, we might wind up getting another tropical system popping up. Wouldn't be a big shocker. So running through the surface map, of course, tomorrow is going to be like a repeat performance of today for most areas. Still more rain in North Carolina and Virginia, but finally you're going to lift that out tomorrow night. You can see that arm of rain that moves to the northeast. Meanwhile, up in Idaho and western Montana, some snow for that area is that deep upper trough that's in the west. We have to deal with this little, the remnant upper low is going to cause a little surface low to form off the New Jersey coast and south of Long Island Saturday morning, and that's why you see the GFS and the other models producing a little bit of rain here during the day on Saturday. But it goes out late in the afternoon, and then that high kind of builds around it. So I think we should be okay for Sunday and for Monday, unless something screws it up with the onshore flow with some clouds. I'm gonna just be optimistic and just kind of go for a mix of sun and clouds with no issues. And then it doesn't look like the next cold front arrives here, Joe, until next Friday night or Saturday. It looks like next Saturday is when the next cold front. So much of next week should be okay.
It should be a backdoor front on Saturday coming down
Oh,
until
don't let if Sal hears that, he's just gonna.
March.
I know it's like it's 9 days from now, 10 days from now, he's gonna flip. But yeah, it's some kind of backdoor that drops down with some showers and storms. And then of course this run of the GFS. What is that? A Category 1 hurricane that it makes? Let me see. Yeah, it's got something coming out of the Northwest Caribbean. It's like the pressures are going to be low down there, so just bear that in mind. And yeah, it's got looks like a Category 1 hurricane that cuts northeastward over the northern Bahamas and then runs up well offshore. So we're starting it. We're going to start the season of how many Category 5 hurricanes can models spin up over the course of the summer and fall. We shall see. And
We
of
shall
course,
see.
folks, if you're new to this channel, we're being sarcastic here, so we never really take the long range seriously when it comes to tropical systems, or I mean, in terms of the specifics anyway, when it comes to tropical systems and when it comes to snowstorms in the wintertime. Those of you who have been here for the last several years already know that, so you guys get it. And
Well,
just
these long range, once they go beyond 5 days, or even once you start looking at 10 to 15 days, they never line up with what you're seeing right now. So all I could say is the only place that disturbance, that tropical system could go is either straight up along the eastern seaboard or out to sea straight east.
oh, it
So
goes out, so let it get out, get it out, get it out. I don't want to deal with it. Um, Temperatures tomorrow, southern New England. Tomorrow's going to be one of those days, Joe, that's actually going to be a lot warmer when you go up into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and Massachusetts, where it's going to be probably between 75 and 80 because of wall to wall sunshine all day. Then you head down to southern New England coast and Long Island. It'll be in the 60s and even the 50s because of the wind off the water. And then it's in the 60s everywhere else, and again, and it's lower down in Virginia because of the fact that you're going to have a ton of clouds and the rain that you're going to have to deal with. Friday, it starts to normalize a bit because the rain lifts northward, the upper low is pulling out. So suddenly you've got 70s to the south, and it will be cooler as you go north. Although, again, in New England on Friday, Joe, it's low 80s all the way up into Maine, even some middle 80s pop showing up in a few places, and also into parts of Vermont and northeastern New York getting very warm here. But we're kind of in a good spot because we're going to have some clouds and, of course, some rain coming in maybe late in the day. Saturday, clouds. Going to hold temperatures down a bit, go north and east, and now we're talking 60s. I think a lot of these numbers you see here on the forecast for Saturday are a bit. I think they're a bit overdone. They got mostly 70s everywhere. I'm thinking that may not be the case if we have more cloud cover. But then Sunday and Monday, it should certainly see those temperatures jump up rather nicely.
I think you're right. I think the inland areas are definitely going to be warmer, not just tomorrow, but for the next few days ahead. New York City tomorrow, for example, I've got 65, but meanwhile, a place like Poughkeepsie or Kingston in the Hudson Valley could get as high as 72, 73. So again, if you want to stay warm, just stay away from that onshore breeze that will be blowing in the afternoon, and you'll have those warm, those balmy temperatures. And yeah, who knows? You go far enough north and northeast, and you'll see temperatures, climbing up toward the 80-degree mark. Lovely.
Yes. Okay. So here's let's do a little bit of Briller Jeopardy. And then we're going to have some Greg Kariga Jeopardy for you, Joe. So hang on for this one. So here we go. uh, categories are easy, hard, impossible. All right.
Okay.
First major league player to earn $1 million.
The first major league player to earn $1 million might that have been? I'm going to say George Foster.
Uh-uh.
No,
You should get this because he was a Met.
he was a Met.
Mm-hmm.
Well, George Foster was a Met. They signed him for $1 million from the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, but
But
this was a this
I know it
particular
couldn't have been Tom Seaver.
no, this was probably the greatest example of trading away somebody that went on to be a great player.
Oh, Reggie Jackson.
No.
No, because Reggie Jackson originally had the Mets had a chance to sign Reggie Jackson, but they instead they turned him down and signed up a catcher by the name of Steve Chillicott, and Steve Chillicott never even made it to the major leagues. So
Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan was the first $1 million ball player.
Yes.
How do you like that? Wow, I didn't know
Now,
that.
here comes part two. Number two, caribou averages how many days of 80 degrees or higher every year?
Oh well, they're so far north. How many times? Well, tomorrow could be an example of how they get to 80 degrees.
Well, yeah,
Uh, I I will say I'll say 12,
26.
26.
And their highest temperature?
Ever?
Yes.
I'll go crazy. Let's go crazy. 97.
Very close. 96
90.
set in May 1977. In May, mind
Wow.
you.
Wow.
Okay, now, what state capital? All right, what state? This is hard. This is really hard. What state capital and what state and its capital do not share any common letters?
What state and state capital do not share any common
Common
letter?
letters.
Uh, Providence, Rhode Island.
Actually, I just there's probably more than one. Um, Pierre, South Dakota.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
but also I'm thinking Albany, New York. Right?
Well,
Oh,
Albany, NY.
and I'm sorry. Oh
Yeah.
boy, I wasn't even close. Never mind. Yeah, no, Pierre, South Dakota. Pierre, right?
It's
And
not pronounced Pierre, it's pronounced
it's
Pier. Yes.
Pierre. Um,
And
okay.
I did the weather for a short time for a radio station in Pierre, South Dakota. The first time I went on the air, you would think that the people out there
Would tell you.
would tell me, you know, how to pronounce it correctly. Because the first time I went on, I said Pierre, and they really got on my case. He said, "Now they know that you're not from around here." I said, "Well, I'm not from around here." How about in Philadelphia? I the first time in Philadelphia, I made an allusion to the Sky Cool Expressway, and of course,
Oh,
it's not the Sky Cool Expressway; it's the Schuylkill
the Schuylkill, yes.
Expressway.
Okay, now here's one. Okay, okay. The year and the name of Mario Lanza's first movie, and what was the name of the
What?
song from it?
am I going to know something like that?
Oh, good God, Joe, you should know this.
Well, I am
It's
Italian, but
right.
the year of Mario Lanza's first
See,
movie,
now I want to play the song. I want to play the song, but I'll get a there'll be a copyright issue, so I'm not going to do it. All right. But I want I'll send you the link when we're done,
you know,
and I want you to play it. Okay.
I grew I grew up with my grandparents for a good part of my young life. And you want to know the singer who you never hear of that they were constantly playing on the old Victrola, the hi-fi?
So not Enrico Caruso.
No, Jimmy Roselli. Remember Jimmy
Oh,
Roselli?
yeah no that yeah I remember that name. Sure,
Yeah, yeah.
sure. Well, the movie is Midnight Kiss, and it was in 1949, and the song was called "Be My Love."
Be my
That's it.
love.
Yes.
I remember the song.
Oh, you know.
Didn't they offer that? Didn't they offer that on television and in one of those record
Oh
giveaways?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. With the Bolovetsi dance, it's like the
I'm sure you
Bolovetsi
recognize this
dance of the
wonderful
two by
melody,
Borodик or
A
whatever his name,
Stranger in Paradise.
Paradise. But did you know that the original was like? Yeah,
Did you
okay, sure.
know?
We of course we did. Of course we knew. He's that whole commercial, by the way, with that with that guy with that man with the man, and I forgot his name, but he actually was in a couple of Alfred Hitchcock movies.
He
The
was
actor's name,
also he was also on Family Affair. There was one season where Sebastian Cabot, Mr. French,
right?
was ill or he couldn't appear in several episodes, and so they
He
said
took his
they
place.
shipped him off to England, and they brought in his brother, Niles French.
Yes. By the way, I don't know why this came into my brain, but um, for some reason it popped into my head was a Bugs I think it was either a Bugs Bunny cartoon or if it was a Sylvester Tweety when they were in Italy and they were in Venice and they're on a boat. They're on a gondola with a motor on it. I think if I remember correctly, and it goes underneath a bridge, and I think Sylvester winds up smashing his face into the bridge. And the sign, I remembered what the sign said. Do you remember what the sign said?
What did the sign say?
Ducka you head, Lolo Brigida. uh, you know what? The fact that here I am at the age of 61, and this is what pops into my brain as far as remembering. I can remember that, and I'm lucky enough if I remember to come down here and set the show up on time.
You remember there was a Bugs Bunny where he and Yosemite Sam were fighting on top of a train, and the train pulls into the station, and the name of the station was Rising Gorge.
Oh, they got away with murder in those days.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we'll leave it at that. Uh,
Have you
oh,
discovered
Alfred Phillips is on here tonight. He's got up in the North Slope, Joe. He's 23 degrees with a wind chill of 6. Practically summertime.
uh, and Sal Blandino, that setup would be so terrible next week if the cold front would wait until Saturday, May 30th, and then even then, I hope it's with the sun and pop up thunderstorm variety and not a gloomy washout and blah blah blah.
Oh, cut it out. Will you please just stop already? Cut it out. Oh, good God. Oh, I got to say hi to Chris Alley. I haven't said hi to Chris Alley in a long time. Hi, Chris Alley. Hope you're doing well. I know you're having fun over on Discord, so it's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it there. And by the way, for any of you who like to join the ongoing chat that continues almost continuously, there's a setup here on Discord. I just have to find where the darn link is. Um, Usually Timothy Veltman, so when he's on, he puts the link up to Discord. But if I can't seem to find it right now, but if we'll try this one. So if you haven't joined, join right now. It doesn't cost you a darn thing. And you get notified. If you're not getting YouTube notified, I put up the live stream link whenever, as soon as I set it up, so you'll know that the live stream is coming at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So let's leave it there. All right. So, oh, he's
Have you
back. What does he
decided on whether or
say?
not have you decided on whether or not we're going to do this tomorrow night or take a night off or Friday night?
Um, I don't know,
You almost
we'll play it
today.
by ear tomorrow, okay? Because if it's still, if things are going to be relatively quiet, this is a good time for us to take a bit of a breather, and I support that idea.
Okay,
All right, so I'll let you know tomorrow, and we'll
right.
let everybody else know. So don't worry about it. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you. If not tomorrow, we'll see you on Friday.